Okay, guys, I'm going outside. Eddie's in that gray crate. So I'm gonna wait some time, and then I'm gonna walk back in. When I walk back in, if we're doing crate time stuff, it's really important to not go right to him immediately. So, okay, there's a guy. Eddie, yes. Go crate. Crate. Yes, good boy. Super. All right. So, while he's in there, I want to talk a little bit about separation anxiety, and I want to start out by defining it, and then we'll talk a little bit about how to prevent it and make it less crazy, okay? Because it's not like an on or off whether you have it or not, right? There's like a spectrum, and like people with anxiety or whatever, it's not like the same as it manifests in people, right? So there's a spectrum. Some people deal with it a little easier, some people cannot deal with it at all, and it's crippling to them, right? So certain things with dogs are similar in that regard, but there's certain things with dogs that are different. So when we talk about separation anxiety with dogs, and we'll start with defining it, it usually comes in a form of the core of it, when I am not in sight or I'm not around, my dog does these, loses its mind and does destructive behaviors, okay? Or crazy behaviors, right? So right now he's laying down. So what happens is people think, oh my God, it's because I was gone, my dog was losing his mind. And there's a truth to that, right? But there's layers of other things that are real and factual that have to be taken into consideration when dealing with a dog with separation anxiety. So things like how well can they regulate their own emotions throughout the day generally, right? If they're really happy, are they boinging off the wall? Are they jumping all over you? If they're angry, are they really getting, are they barking really loud? Are they regulating their emotions throughout any average regular day, And are they perceiving life accurately, right? So if grandma comes over, some dogs are gonna bark like they're seeing the devil, even if it's grandma for the 10th time this week, right? So some dogs know it's grandma and they don't care. So they're perceiving the reality accurately, and some dogs hear a sound and they bark at that sound, or suspicious of that sound, right? Suspicious of that sound. I had to say that right. So you have to consider those factors. Is my dog able to regulate their emotion throughout the day? And are they perceiving reality correctly? Or are they perceiving it in a more threatening way than it actually is, right? So with that said, is a layer of self-control, right? When grandma comes over, is my dog able to generally contain his excitement and follow commands at that moment? Or does he just let his emotions overrun him, and then he does whatever that in that moment his emotion dictates? And you're gonna start seeing this pattern pop up, that if his emotion dictates it and he has no self-control to change it, then he'll act out on these emotions, right? So I think that's, to me, the core thing. And if these things, if these pieces of the puzzle are like, if people are aware of this and they're objectively looking at their dog that way, then we can talk about some the next few things. But this is also, okay, so we talked about the dog's perspective. Now we have to talk about the human's perspective while the dog is doing those things, right? Let's say your dog is very excited when grandma comes home. Let's say it's a happy excitement. Are you doing anything to help the dog understand that that's the wrong emotion, or are you also joining the dog in that emotional, energy, right? Let's say the dog is a little bit weird about said visitor. Are you helping the dog understand that's the wrong emotion and how to change it? Or are you adding to this dog's perceived emotion there, right? And a lot of times, if you're not a dog trainer or an animal behaviorist or some animal expert, what our instincts say to do in some of those situations actually are the complete opposite of what needs to happen in order to help the dog, right? So it really boils down to those two things. Like, how is the dog emotionally handling scenarios throughout its average day? And you as the owner, as the trainer of this dog, how are you helping this dog regulate itself? And if these two factors cannot be answered for, and then we all of a sudden want the dog to have complete self-control and authority over its emotions and itself, all of a sudden when we leave it, that's really a tough challenge to ask a dog that doesn't have any skills, right, in that department. So then, of course, what is the dog gonna do? It's gonna try to find a solution to the problem of you missing or it being contained in a crate or whatever. So what ends up happening is the dog tries to do something, and naturally the dog will try to do I'm gonna give it my all to escape this situation or get out of this position I'm in the house. So they'll try to break out or try to do whatever. Now, if that distress is causing them self-harm, we gotta intervene, right? That is not the way to solve the said problem. So in that situation, when the dog was contained, it's self-harming, and now you step in to save it from that. You did the right thing, but coincidentally, at the same time, the dog learned, if I just freak out like this, I end up getting my way. And now if it happens once or twice, it's pretty much, this dog is I know how to solve for this problem. I just freak out the best I can and someone will come and save me. So to deal with this this perceived separation anxiety, you cannot meet it head on, and you can't force the dog to deal with it when you're gone. It starts with, like I started this conversation, it starts with dealing with it daily in an average setting, little by little, like we've been doing with him. And so for me, when you ask that question, has he been showing me separation anxiety? There's a couple things to talk about here. Has he been freaking out in a panic that he has been left in the kennel? No. Has he been complaining in an entitled fashion about his position? Yes. And there is a difference between the two, right? He's not doing any self-harm. He's comfortable. He uses his nose to check things out a lot. Sometimes his nose is completely good, but sometimes it looks exactly like the day you guys dropped him off, a little bit rough around the edges, and he cycles in and out through that. So outside of that, he's comfortable, he's happy, he's got his little bed in there, and he's got a little palace thing going on. I'll show you a picture of that later. But overall, he's perfectly comfortable in the kennel. And when he's in there, he's not complaining when I'm not around. He only throws his complaint fits when he sees me mess with another dog or something else. So he, in his own way, he learned, he believes he has the right to complain about his position, and he believes that complaining will solve that situation for him. He's almost demanding that I do it, So the last week and a half, he's just learned that there's no power from that, right? I'm not gonna save him, I'm not gonna interact with him, and no one's gonna come and take care of his needs immediately, because there's no needs that are not already met, It's just in his mind, this dissatisfaction and demand that you fix it now, And so for us, we just giggle at him and we say, And then he kind of his shifting to now, instead of complaining, he'll do his prettiest little sit while he looks at us calmly. And now I respond to that, we'll interact with him and get him out or whatever. So he's learning how to express himself in a different way, right? So, okay, it's hard to have a conversation with just a camera. And I hope to God I have covered what separation anxiety is in a lot of dogs, and I'm talking mostly about Eddie. A lot of dogs express separation anxiety in a lot of different ways, and there are severe cases and whatever, you know. But for Eddie, the way I see him, he's a very clever dog, and he's a very stubborn, like he's strong-willed, which causes stubbornness. But for him, if he finds that that's a solution to act crazy, to act panic, to act to bark, to make that crazy howling sound that he does or whatever once in a while, like it just, if those things work for him, he'll triple and quadruple down on those types of behaviors. But when he realizes like that doesn't get him the attention that he thinks he deserves, but other behaviors do, he starts to go to these other behaviors, right? He's sleeping in the kennel now, so I talked too long. My last thought on this is, for him, as we do life this way, where I am regulating him morning, afternoon, and evening, and he is learning, okay, I saw those dogs, but I can't run to them. I can't flex, I can't do anything. Okay, I'm in a social situation, I'm excited to see people. That doesn't mean I get to jump. I have to sit, I have to control my emotions. Then when I challenge him a little bit, I walk out of the room, I do this and that, and I leave him in the crate, he doesn't have that much of a hard time. I'm not going for hours yet, you know, but when I do this, or in the kennel, especially, he's really comfortable in the kennel. The crate is more challenging than the kennel, I would say still, but we're working on the crate. So I don't see that he's having that hard of a time, you know, with being left alone and being separated from me because of how I am having him live his life lately. So anyways, I hope that makes sense. If you guys want to give me a call and talk about this would be something fantastic that we can have a phone conversation about. Otherwise, send me those questions over text messages like you guys have been, and I'll either message back or write you a follow-up. Anyways, guys, I hope this clarifies some things about separation anxiety. Let me let him out before I close up the video. What's up, buddy? Wait. Wait. You gotta wait. Okay, that's a guy. Good job, buddy. Good boy. Sit. Yes. Good job, pal. Look at this stud. Look at this stud. Good boy. Nice guy. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, guys. We'll talk soon.